right, it says we are live. But maybe not yet. Time to do some cross posting right now. All right, live we are. Why is that weird? That was weird. Oh well. Hi guys. Oh, give it a little bit of a minute to get people online. And we'll get started. Got to give everybody a chance. All right. I didn't really give a clue last time, but I'll see if I can remember to do a clue today. This time, we've done. Let's do a little of the recap. I'm going to do a recap every time, just because we're close to the end. Close to the end of the situation. The end of the season of Bushcraft A to Z. We went over air temperature, the kit mentality for bags, carving, distance, edible wild plants, fire, gifts of nature. We went over heat stroke and heat exhaustion, iodine for water treatment, journaling, and the peace you get from going out into a natural environment and then just putting what's in here down there, writing it out. So peaceful. Knots, Knots. So little knot tying nomenclature. We talked about layering and how that was good for insulation. Um, we talked about mental health. A lot of these will tie back into the previous ones because they're so useful and needed. So mental health, not just mental health in the process of going out in the woods and journaling, but just going into the woods itself is um, a mental health practice. In Japan, they have this thing doctors will prescribe this thing called um 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 Okay, I've said them all. No more. Uh, it's called forced bathing, and doctors will prescribe a certain number of minutes per day or week, and or a certain amount of times per week, like just to go out into nature, because oftentimes we get too busy. You know, one of the things they said is make time to spend, make it a priority to spend time in nature. If you don't have the time, it, spend 20 minutes in nature a day. If you don't have the time, spend an hour. That was mental health. We went into nautical knowledge where we talked about the stars, compass degrees, and things like that. How in the woodland warrior side of old ways training, the wilderness martial arts side, um, we use compass degrees to help us with understanding basic footwork. After we learn basic footwork, we kind of throw those degrees out the window, but it's a good starter. It's a good little um, forward momentum. Let's see, opticals. We talked about headlamps and binoculars. Um, P for pickle juice. I think we went into pemmican as well for a little bit, but I had two choices that day. Q, quick shelter. We talked about how to make a quick shelter out of a tarp, either a hammock or a tent. So whichever way you like to camp, there's multiple ways. We talked about the rapid ridge line. Um, that was a cool little thing to set up and talk about. S, we talked about the skills and how important it is for dirt time to to hone your skills in to get them at the very least capable. Um, we talked about. I was going to talk about tinder processing, but I kind of goofed up and um, there we are. All right. We talked about I wanted to talk about tinder processing, but we talked about T's, three specific T's that we can get out of nature, and that kind of referenced backwards to the edible wild plants that I did earlier. Then we did last weekend we did underlayment or the browse bed as what it's known, and it's just a if you have some sort of elevated bed situation, you can put debris underneath it, and that adds an insulation and padding. Um, one of the survival techniques is to get a like to have your survival kit. In your survival kit, you'll have a at least one, preferably two or three, um, large container, heavy duty trash can liners, garbage bags. Um, and what you do is like if you've got just one, you just do the one. But if you get two, you encase them, the two openings together. You put the browse in one, put the browse in the other, and then put them together. And if you've got some duct tape, that's another thing. If you've got some duct tape, that's even better because then you can duct tape them both together and then lay on it. It's a mattress. We didn't talk about that, but I figured I'd add a little bit of a benefit there. Then, of course, that third one is for water containment and other things, maybe even a makeshift tarp. um, today, today we're going to talk about this is in like an air temperature thing, and it goes off the idea of the physics law, the law of I think it's thermodynamics, that is hot air rises, which means consequently or conversely, cold air drifts lower. So this is V, and we're talking about valleys in the landscape. It makes sense from a pseudo tactical point of view to find a sleeping location in a valley, like those little small valleys and landscapes. Sometimes, like in the foothills of mountains, you'll. I mean, they're really small. I mean, you could probably build one small, room for one person or two people even in these little valleys. Like they call them fingers, right? So when you're at a place, oftentimes at foothills to mountains, they'll have these they call them fingers, but these are the upper parts, and then the valley goes in between them. Um, Probably the concept of using the word fingers in that reference probably comes from excuse me, geomaps or topographic maps, where it actually looks like fingers on a map. Um, but we're talking about the valleys in between them, and it would make sense. Now, if you're in an EE situation, escape and egress, where you are trying to hide from a pursuer that is not who you want to be a part of, then you would probably want to go there. But every other time, uh, the if it's a survival situation where um, and it's cold, if it's cold, this is also very context, not just context, but also time dependent. So if in the wintertime you're going to uh, survive. If you're in the wintertime and it's a survival situation, you don't want to be going through the valleys of the landscape. That's where the cold air goes. Warm air rises, cold air lowers or drifts lower. So you don't want that because that's where the cold air is going to be overnight, right? You don't want to sleep there. Um, if you're in an EE situation where you're trying to escape a pursuer and it's just that night, maybe that's where you want to go. But then again, it also means everyone else has the high ground. So if they do find you, they have an automatic advantage. Um, and you're going to be very cold. And so there's another advantage they're going to have. And they're going to be looking in the valleys. So I guess from that point of view, let me backtrack and say it's probably not a good idea to go there. Oftentimes, if you're in the woods and you're evading pursuers, one of the best things to do is climb a tree. No one's looking up. Like very few people are looking up, and if they're looking up, they're looking distant. And when it's distant, you have multiple trees next to each other, where it's easy to things are silhouetted against the night sky, and they'll see something. They know, you know this when you look at these things. It looks like if it was just a silhouette, it would look like there's someone there. But people, I mean, just instinctively understand that it's layered, and as a result, what they see might not actually be a person. It just might be the right kind of configuration of branches or tree trunks. So people don't look up, and if they look up, they look distant and won't see you, even if they're looking at you. Is the assumption. Everyone's looking on the ground, eye level or lower. So that is definitely a wooden escape and egress situation. But we're not here to talk about that. We're talking about valleys and the landscape. V for valleys. So make sure everything is posted and cross-posted and posted upon posted, and you know, maybe we're making a fence at some point. I don't know. No, I don't see anything. I don't actually see my own self cross-posted. Let me see over here and do it my own way. Yeah, that is the truth. So, all right. We go back and see if it loads up. I'll see it. Okay. Very well then. So that's what we're talking about today is the valleys in the landscape and why they would be beneficial or they would lack benefit. To use because that's where the cold air goes down into. That's really all I've got as far as that goes. It would make sense to want to do it because even then, you with the valley in between the two fingers, it's really easy to make a roof. Just use the two fingers as the walls. There's a good way to do that actually. So let's talk about that for a second. Let's imagine a landscape feature. Two fingers go out, and there's a little valley in between, and it's 4 feet deep. It goes from 0 feet deep to 4 feet deep where you want to build your shelter, you would probably be best to go all the way back to zero with these logs on top, and then cover those logs like next to each other as flat as you can make them. And then on top of those logs, leaves and debris. And then on top of that, dirt. Like so much dirt that it looks like a geological situation. Got some birds. Um, so like a geological situation, not a man-made. So it looks like ground. So then you would, what that would do is the cold air that would be up there where the zero level is would actually level out over top and then maybe drop down at your entrance, but it wouldn't get into the the valley itself, little mini valley. And then you would go inside, stuff lots of debris up where that zero part is. Lots and lots of debris. You would give up at least 2 feet, maybe even 3 feet would be better, of usable storage space. Just sticking debris up in there. Then, if you had some sort of digging implement, which is a part of my kit, I've got a carving kit and a construction kit. So the construction kit includes like the settler's wrench, which is a popular item. It's a large inch and a quarter boring tool, makes holes, and then the handle that comes out that allows you to put a T-handle stick in, so you can really dig in down in there. One side of it is sharpened and conical and sharpened, and so that it's the same size as the hole you're making. So you can make ladders, you can make all kinds of stuff with that thing. No lashing needed. One item that does not use up consumables. But also some sort of digging tool. Usually it's one of those mini pickaxes, a pick on one side and so a pick on one side and then a straight, like, it's not a shovel, but it's flat. I'm working with a guy now that is, the purpose is to figure out a way to create a mini shovel that can be sharpened, kind of like the cold steel Spetsnaz shovel, but instead of being wider, it's a little bit more long and comes at a more of a longer taper for the point, and is socketable. So that's going to be on the Woodland Warrior side, where the staff has a thing that goes in the socket. And then I have a belt knife that goes in on that socket, and then you've got a halberd. And then, or I can take that out with the attachment, put that back on my belt knife, take the other thing out, the digging trowel, put that on there, and I do have a serviceable shovel, but sharpened so that it is not only a shovel, but can be used as a spear. Multiple little things. But that's part of my construction kit. Is I've got the cold steel Spetsnaz shovel and the pickaxe, along with an axe and the boring tool, not an axe, but a hatchet and fold-out saw. It's my 5-piece kit for construction. One of the I don't know if I would have one here. It's actually in my kits, but not like a Corona saw or a Baco Laplander or anything like that. Not a fold-out. A fold-out bow saw, that kind of saw with the really deep, long teeth that offset, that's a construction song. And then with those right there, I mean, think about this. Think about every log that you put on here, right, for the roof, are socketed with a boring tool and a small piece of wood to go in between the two, hammered in with the back of the hatchet, and all of them are that way. So they're laying on top of ground, earth. So the walls are pretty strong, and then they're together that way, pretty strong. Um, and then each one of them at least two places, and as it gets wider, maybe three. And then imagine the pickaxe digging around the walls, because you know this is, if this is a valley, then it doesn't go straight down, across, and straight back up. It dips. And so imagine making it straight down and straight across and then straight back up with the pickaxe and the shovel and the shovel. You're making yourself a cabin, a home. You're not surviving or thriving. Which is the whole point of what bushcraft is supposed to be, in my opinion. Bushcraft, as it's supposed to be, is a advanced form of survival. So if you get any type of there are advanced survival, quote unquote, classes out there, but those survival classes at some point they're going to start moving into this thing where you get so good at survival you stop worrying about surviving, which kind of is the point. But at the same token, if you stop worrying about surviving, then you've spent so much time in the woods that it becomes like, I've said this before in multiple ways, survival is it's what we've done for a longer period of time than we've been knowing how to write as a species. We've survived for longer than we know how to write, regardless of what language we're talking about. That's crazy. So to think that we shouldn't know how to be in the woods is an insult to our ancestors. Yeah, it's an insult to our ancestors. We should never have that problem. We should remain so connected to our environment, to the environments that we grew up in. At least that. We're not worried about like the advanced wilderness survival is surviving in different environments. So I'm in the southern woodlands right now of the U.S. of A. I don't know a lot about how to survive in the deserts or steppes, or I know a little bit about ocean survival and water survival. I know a little bit about, but I don't know a lot of European survival. That's a different survival. It's a different environment. Even though it's woods, it's a different kind of woods. Different species are there, both animal, flora, and fauna. So that's important too. So survival gets to a point where you stop knowing how to survive in the environment you're in. Then you're like, well, what about this other environment? What about this other environment? I might be there. I might not be there. I don't know. We might be traveling by air in an airplane over a desert from one wooded area to the next wooded area. Right? Granted, Washington State has some great woods, and I would probably be not too far out of my environment where I to fly there, but I'd be definitely out of my environment where I had to fly over a desert and then the plane go down, assuming I survived the plane crash. But um, it's just things to keep in mind. The idea is a different mindset between survival and bushcraft, and I say this often, and I deem it so important that I don't get tired of saying it because it really needs to be locked into people's psyche and consciousness. Is that survival is man against nature, thrival is man with nature, humans. And that one phrase, that one reference shift changes everything. Changes everything. If we can do that, then our survival is almost assured. Now, I also like to include something that is both applicable to our daily life and something bushcraft or survival related. And so take that same mentality shift. Go into your job as if you chose it, not as if you have to be there. Because, in all honesty, you don't. People don't change jobs not because they can't, but because they don't want to learn something new. Most times. If you get good at, because learning is a process. You get good at anything you do more often. I mean, that's just what happens. The more you do it, the better you get at it. Now, the more you do it consciously and with intention, you'll skyrocket your skill level on whatever it is you're looking to learn. So people don't move away from their job. They'll talk hate all day long. I hate my job. I wish I was never here. You wish? No, you don't. If you did, you'd do something about it. Either, and this is a management phrase, which is pretty interesting. I'll go on a small tangent before we go. The logistical or managerial phrase is change your people or change your people. So if you've got someone underperforming and you know they're underperforming, if someone comes to you and uses that word in reference of you, you need to understand that's not a put down. Now, if they're using that as a reason to fire you, possibly, but if they're coming to you and they're saying, hey, we need to talk, we think you're underperforming, and we need to put something together to get you to perform better. If they're using that type of phraseology, that's a compliment, because that's saying that they think you can do more, not because they're trying to squeeze more out of you, but because you've got more potential. That's an indication of potential. But most people look at the surface level understanding of things and they go, well, it's a bad thing, and why are you complaining about me? I'd say thank you very much. Let's figure this out. All right. So change your people or change your people. Managers go to people and say, let's see what we can. This guy has a potential, and we need to be able to help him with that so that he can be successful at work. So that's the first part. Change your people. Don't get it confused. Your personality is not what they want to change. If your personality is ever in the mix at work, and it's not a positive influence at work, you have less potential, in my opinion. You would, like, if I were your manager, I would try to do something to change your perspective so that your personality doesn't change. Like, personality is how you see the world, but more than that, it's more than your history. It's more than um, how you see the world. It's more than just the. Those are small little behavioral and perspective changes that really don't do anything about you, who you are. It's just stuff, minute stuff. So what needs to happen is not what needs to happen. If you're a negative influence upon other people at work, I won't work very hard to get you to go as a manager. If I think you have influence, and that influence, it's possible for your influence to be sh- not stronger, but um, transition from a negative to a positive, uh, then I'll spend more time on you. Uh, but if I don't think that your attitude will change from a positive to a negative, I'm going to do you a favor. From negative to positive, I'm going to do you a favor and um, give you an opportunity to look for another job by saying bye. I'll probably give you more time than just that, but because I'm a softie. But think about that. Change your people or change your people. That's kind of what that second change your people is about. Get someone in that will have not only a influence but also a positive influence on the people around them. Even though when you first start a job, usually it's the other people having an influence on you. And if in a group I'm able to find one person that really has influenced negatively the group, I'll single that person out, try to talk to them over it, make it better, make it better, make it better. If none of that happens, I'm like, I'm sorry, I've got to let you go. And then before hiring a new person, I want to be able to spend more time with that group to positively engage that group in a productive way so that any new person comes in and gets influenced by people already working there. Better, 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 better. If you don't really want to work where you're working, then you need to find an exit. You need to have an exit strategy. It's it's the old trope that works. It's easier to find a job when you've got a job. Don't quit. Do your job to the best of your ability. Try to do a little bit better because why not? It's a good thing. Good things are good things if they're good things. But at the same time, and you're dedicated to not staying there, put your resume out there. Go to a couple of interviews. If you need to, take a sick day. I'll give you a sick day if that's what you're dedicated to doing. If I'm your manager, and I know that you're dedicated to doing that, either officially or unofficially, I'm like approved. Go do your go do your thing, dude. I want you to be successful. I'd like for you to be successful in my venture, in my business. But if you're not, if that's the thing that's holding you back, if I'm holding you back in some way, or if this business is holding you back in some way, then you need to be on your way so that you can be good, do good somewhere else. And I want everyone around me to do good. Um, Except for the evil people, I don't want their goals to succeed. You know, if you're secretly stalking me home and looking for opportunities to murder me, then I'm not in favor of that, or my family, or anyone else I care about. But I'm not tied to the idea of everyone around me doing all the good things. Sometimes it's not a good fit. Anyway, I've rambled enough. We talked about valleys in the landscape and how we can make actually a little shelter if we had to use the valley in the landscape. We talked about how it's not a really good idea to use a valley in a landscape in the colder weather, colder environments, wintertime, because that's where the cold air goes at nighttime. Though in the summer, that'd probably be a good idea to do, especially like do more than just the 4 feet thing. Go go on out, go 5 and 6 feet, or even 7, because that part where a lot of air in between you, the top of your head and the roof, that right there would be the warmest. The more distance you can put between the roof and where you sleep, the better in the summer. Um, we talked about escape and evasion. I called it egress earlier. I don't know why. Talked about escape and evasion and how in those situations you do what you got to do, what you got to do. But anyway, I think that's about all we got. A clue for the next one is tied to this one. And let's see, if I've gone over something similar to that in the past of our thing here. Kind of. We've danced around it with the heat stroke and heat exhaustion. Valleys of the landscape. So we're in this way we're talking about the landscape itself, the earth part of thermodynamics and those kind of things like that. Let's see, nautical knowledge kind of danced around it. Let's see. Yeah. So those are the similarities. We're going to go deeper into a different tangent than those other ones in the next one for W. That should be easy. W should be easy. And I've been keeping a good tally of who's been guessing, and the winner, like I said before, I'm guaranteeing a winner on our contest. So the person with the most correct guesses of the next one, I keep looking for people to guess, and a lot of people haven't, which means anyone who has, it's pretty much a shoe-in. At the end of the last one for Z, which is, we've got 4 left, guys. 4 left. We've got a month, or a month's worth of. So before the end of September, we'll be done. So at the last one, if you've guessed before on the last one, you can't guess again, right? You can't guess Z. I mean, you can guess Z, but you can't guess what's after Z. That's the end. We're not doing into the AA. No. So after the last one, send a direct message if you can. If not, go to www.oldwagetraining.com. Go to where it says ask me a question, and let's see, make sure I've got it right where I want it. So at the main class, the homepage, Powerful Martial Arts for people who love the great outdoors, should be able to go all the way to the bottom. No. We'll go to more info and then contact us. More info, ask a question. First name, last name, email, subject line, put Bushcraft A to Z info in the message that's required, and then you put let's see, woodsmanship, or you could put other. There's a category question, so put other, and then in the message put your name and your email address, or in your name and your mailing address if you're not in the local Warner Robins, Macon, Georgia area. Okay. If you are, then say that you are in the message, because I still want the message, and I'll send you some. We'll email back and forth to get a date and time to meet up, and then you'll get a first aid kit. No, that'll be part of it, but then you'll get your carving kit. Beavercraft, it's just a case, but little Beavercraft carving kit made in the Ukraine, which is pretty cool too. I think a lot of the people craftsmen out there kind of have it together. So that being said, that I mean, even with whatever's going on over there, I think there's still lots of people. I see. I'm subscribed to a couple of people a couple of YouTubers that are on in the Ukraine, and they're still building barrels and like wooden stave barrels all the time. This one guy, he makes the little ones, he makes the big ones, he makes a butt, which is a technical term. A BUTT is a size of barrel with the little metal bands and the wooden staves. It's a buttload, literally. It's a technical term. Yay, you learned something new. All right, guys. I think we're done with this one. W is our next one. I've given you the context clue, and this is something you need to know, that you should get lost, but never lose your way.